Hi, everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic day, evening, morning, depending on where you are, and that you are enjoying the track and field that we've been having this past week, particularly the World U20 there that World Athletics is putting on in Lima, Peru. I was supposed to be going live on a few of those, but I just didn't get an opportunity to do that. So if you want to talk about that as well tonight, we'll definitely put that on. There's some interesting stuff happening there. However, the show tonight, I want to talk about what happened in Rome. Diamond League continued today. Some spectacular performances, some good performances there in Rome from a number of athletes, the likes of Akira Nugent. I want to talk about her. Faith Kipiegan always looking good. Splendid performance to there from Letsili Tobogo in a fashion that is getting us to think about him much differently. He's arriving in some ways that showcases personality on the track even more so to back up that Olympic 200-meter gold medal. And so, yeah, we'll talk about all of that stuff for some of the things that happen in the field events as well. And anything you want to talk about what happened in Rome. This evening, obviously, if you were watching World Junior Championships as well, you'd have seen some good performances there from Walaza, there from South Africa, and Gout, a kid that I never really knew much about until Chris, I think, on the live mentioned him a couple of weeks ago. And he's interestingly super talented at 16 years of age as well, and running a 2060. So we'll break down some of that stuff. Excellent performance from Adeja Hodge too, winning the women's 200 meters there. Uh, Karika Hill getting her back to back in the 100-meter hurdles. So interesting stuff happening at World Youths as well. Hopefully, you guys are all doing well. Let me know where you're joining me from, and all the things that you want to talk about. We'll be happy to talk about that. I was going to start with Akira Nugent, but before I get to her, I just want to talk a little bit about Let's See Tobogo. We've been talking about him all season. His performances are there for everyone to see. And I mean, Tobogo was in fantastic form today. Wins the 100 meters at the Rome Diamond League, 1087, into just a slight helping win there of 0.3. But it's the manner in which he won that race. Kristen Coleman got out on a flyer. As usual, he gets a great start. But from early in the race, once Tobogo got into his running, you recognize that he was going to catch him, but he wasn't doing anything to catch him. He wasn't pumping the arms the way you wanted. And once he got up on Coleman, it's just celebratory mode after that. He was just crossing the thing. It's a kind of boat-like performance, if you want to think about it, or some inspiration from that in terms of the style or manner. But let's see Luteboga is enjoying himself. 987, quite comfortable there. Probably could have run much, much, much faster than he did. Wasn't necessary. He won it comfortably. Good run from Coleman. He would have been disappointed with his season not having an opportunity to run the flat 100 at the Olympic Games. We all thought he would have. And then obviously that big, big disappointment there in the 4x1 at the Olympics where the USA were overwhelming favorites. Fred Curley, good season for him. Excellent season given what we saw from him at the New York Diamond League, making the way on the US championship team and finding a way on the podium, just slightly ahead of Akini Simbini. And for Curly, for good measure, getting a 995 there. So we're approaching that end of the season. Some athletes have already called it. Some are still trying to dazzle us, give us some good performances. Some are thinking about this Diamond League final that will happen in Brussels. There are prizes to be had there, particularly entry into the World Championships next year if your country if your country doesn't hold a defending champion as well. So I like what I saw from Letsili. More so, not necessarily execution. I think he was okay with the start. He's been doing good starts these past months. He got into his running fairly well, but it was the manner of the victory for me. A level of good arrogance, if you want to think about it. Maybe a little bit showboating at the end. Some people might not like that. The sport probably needs that from time to time, but a lot more in the tank. easy win for him. I thought he felt within himself. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Let's See Tobago tonight. What's going on, everybody? Some comments coming through here. Chris, my man, how you doing? Aussie girls, boys, 200 got silver. In the 200 fourth, I think. Yeah, I did watch that just before I got onto the live. And again, thank you for pointing me out to Gout. Are you a member of Tiger Track Club there in Brisbane? I don't know if you are, but there's a lot of interesting stuff there. If I get my producer back at some point, we can probably put up some stuff from the World Junior Championships as well. But yeah, for many people, the Aussie woman there was probably was going to be one of the favorites there. She ran well early this season, and yeah, but not enough there. Adeja Hodge had too much. Tori Lewis ran a PB 22:88, 22:74 for Hodge. Big talent there from British Virgin Islands. If you watch the Carifta games, you know that she's a stellar talent. Didn't run at the Carifta this year, if my memory serves me correctly. But in years past, we've seen how multi-talented she is, and Douglas also from Jamaica. They're grabbing the bronze medal, and Milat from Australia getting the fourth place there. So the Aussies are overperforming at this championships. If I'm being honest with you, overperforming might be strong, but they're showing some good stuff there. Number of athletes with promise. And as I was gonna say this, and I think I may have said this on a live or a video we plan to put out. The World Youth Championships is interesting timing. It's really at the end of the season. You get athletes at different points in terms of their preparation. For some athletes, some of the Caribbean athletes, they probably are end the season, probably getting back for background work, and they still have to perform at this level. For others, it's all over the place. That is not an excuse. It's just that the timing varies depending on where athletes are coming from sometimes, and it's getting close to September to have a World Championships at that point is never the greatest, I suspect, depending on when they would have started their early season competition. But good performances there. I like the Gout kid. I, really interesting guy. I never watched him before. If I did, I just can't remember. So I'm gonna go with I never saw him before this championships. 16 years of age. His story is really interesting. There. 2060 for silver medal. Walaza there from South Africa completing that World Junior double. And I know I was supposed to talk about the Diamond League, but since Chris brought up the World Youth Championships there, I wanted to touch on that briefly. 2052. What I like about Gout, I even for Walaza as well. Walaza from South Africa, lots of deficiency with his running. One of the arms he's not even swinging the arms properly. There's almost as if he was recovering from some kind of a surgery or defect there in terms of injury. And I don't know if that's the case. And if it is, I'll apologize. But you see where there's a lot of work that can be done there. But the Gout kid, there's no sprinting going on, no technique going on there. His one foot is pointing in one direction. He's just not anywhere close to right mechanics or so and so on. So you look at that and you see that kind of talent, and if you can build on that, put some muscle on that body whenever he grows up. He's 16, so once he starts to fill out some more and learn how to do proper sprinting, you guys have somebody potentially super special on your hands there. What he's already doing at 16 is more than commendable. The kid from Great Britain too, getting that bronze medal, Jordan, interesting stuff there. So yeah, that's my take on all of that stuff at the World Junior Championships. Karika Hill, shout out to her too, back to back. Alana Reid, I think I did a video for Alana Reid, we just hadn't put it out. She keeping in that great tradition as well from Jamaica to basically own that World Junior on 100-meter title for the last how long? You have to go back to 2016 when Candice from the United States won it. It's been all Jamaica. Brianna Williams, back to back by the Tina Clayton there, and obviously now Alana Reid. So yeah, interesting stuff there at World Under 20s. We can talk more about that later in the show if you want. But I would say I would go back to the Diamond League today, and just to finish up my point on Tobogo, I like what I'm seeing from him. Let's see, really looking good. I don't know what he'll try to do until the end of the season. I suspect we'll just get good performances. Probably, I don't know if he wants to win the Diamond League final. I don't think there's any reason not to. Uh, there's also there's no real incentive except for the title itself and the monetary thing that comes with it. It's not like Let's See will be fighting for a place at next year's World Championships with any serious competition from his countrymen there. So we're just getting to see a superstar of athletics continue to run well and continue to run late in the season. And if we're being honest, not all athletes do that. A number of them have shut down for different reasons, some of them for health issues for them just to save their body. Others, they just don't really compete as much because they don't have to, right? We haven't seen Sydney, we probably won't see her. A number of athletes just call it a day. We haven't seen Shakari subsequently as well. So you want to see the best athletes on display, and some wanted to run, some pick up other stuff, so that's understandable. Lamont Jacobs showing up, I was surprised by that because he did a creditable performance there trying to defend his Olympic title in Paris. Didn't work out in the end, but also suffered an injury. And then for him to show up, I suspect he showed up because it's the Italian home crowd. He wanted to give them a performance, but just nothing in the tank there. Struggled a bit throughout his race. Keem Blake still running. Hopefully, can take this into next season. Sani Brown was there as well. Omanyala, probably a little bit too much running for him when you stack that up over the last 3 or so years now, and maybe you should probably call it a season and think about what will happen next year. But that was a decent performance, more than decent performance by Let's See Litaboga. I thought it was really good performance in terms of the way he won it. Could have run much faster, and that's a good sign for him leading into next season. Again, I'll stick to my guts and say I would prefer for Let's See to do the 200 and 400 meters. That would be lovely to see. There is a 43 5 in that leg, in that guy's body, or better if he can build it up. And I think there's something special there in the 200 meters, potentially very low 19.3s, probably a 19.2 something is there. And if he were to get anywhere close to both of those times, then that'll kind of cement him into some rarefied air and certainly push him to multiple titles in the next few years to come. So that's my take on Let's See Litaboga. I've been saying it. Hopefully, I mean, we don't get to decide what he does. I know he likes to run 102, but everybody likes to do that. But I think his prospects are much higher. All right, so that was the thing. Thank you everybody for coming on, and don't forget to like the video and so on. Let me quickly go to the women's 100-meter hurdles. I want to talk about the hurdles at the Rome Diamond League. Again, we'll say the same story, but it's fact. It's the most competitive event in all of track and field, women's 100-meter hurdles. How are you doing, Debbie? Good to see you. Good to see you. Hopefully, you're enjoying a lot of track and field here. If you watch the Rome Diamond League today, have you been watching the World Youth Championships as well? I've been watching that. Luckily, it's all over Peacock, so I've been getting that. I just haven't gotten a chance to come on live and talk about it, but I'm here now. Good to have you back. Yeah. So Akira Nugent there. So I will say, okay, we know it's most competitive thing on any given day. You can get all sort of athletes winning, and it's one of those things where you just like, it's so competitive. And when some of the top stars aren't there, the quality never diminishes. So that's how brilliant the women's 100-meter hurdles is. And I'll get to some of your other comments there, Japa, as well. But the thing about Akira that is really good is that what she's doing right now comes as no surprise. We all anticipated this. Akira Nugent has been having what can only be described as a fabulous season. Very good. The biggest issue with Akira's season this year was the mishap at the Olympic Games, and you can never get that back. It's an unfortunate thing. You have to wait 4 years, and you just never know what will happen. But Akira Nugent has been special from she was a junior athlete, and she is now a superb 100-meter hurdler, efficient across over the hurdles, really good technique, especially when she doesn't hit them. And I think she's going to threaten some interesting spaces over the 100-meter hurdles in the next few years. We're looking at a woman more than capable of pushing to the sub 12:20 mark. So what she did today, and great competition. Kambunji was there, Samba Maela was there, Masai Russell was there. Those are two medalists from the Olympic Games, including the Olympic champion in Masai Russell, Alicia Johnson, two Olympic finalists, Kenny Harrison, former world record holder, Charlton, world indoor champion, world indoor record holder, Nadine Vesser as well, top class athlete there, finishing amongst the mix as well. I don't think we can ever anticipate uh, a drop off. So the thing about Akira that is really good is that she's delivering in front of these athletes, and I just feel bad for her that she just didn't deliver at the Olympic Games, because she was gonna be on that podium. There's no question about it. But it's just one of those things. But today, fabulous. 12:24 is a special time. I believe that puts her up in top 4 of all time in terms of an athlete, not necessarily times, but an athlete. So only who's ahead of her? Obviously, Toby Amason, world record holder there from Eugene, 12:12 there in the semifinals in Eugene. Kenny did a 12:20. You had Donkova as well. That was a former world record of 12:21. And so no, she's number 4, because I think there's the other Bulgarian would have been at 12:25 from back in the day as well. That her name is slipping me right now. The other Bulgarian. So and Masai Russell is in and around the mix. So right now we're seeing an athlete that's super special, getting up to those times, good competition. So we just hope that she can, take heart for the season. Probably try and win that Diamond League title. I think it's important to do that, because it's interesting. I don't know. Actually, let me take that back. The Diamond League title wouldn't even matter, because Daniel Williams is the world champion. So the automatic spot would go to her over the Diamond League champion if Masai if Akira Nugent were to win it. So let me take that back. But yeah, she just needs to get there and continue running well. I think she'll definitely probably go sub 12:20 next year. And what we saw here is a continuation of some of the things we would have seen from Akira Nugent beating Masai Russell on the collegiate circuit with the many battles that they had over those years. So it's unfortunate that she didn't get a chance to deliver on the biggest of stages. All right. Let me get back to some of these comments here. Japa was saying, let's see, Liz, time to rule is here. I think Lyles has a problem on his hands. I think everybody has a problem on their hands when it comes to Let's See Tobago, including Aaron Knighton, who at one point we thought was going to be the heir apparent to this 200-meter title. And yeah, he hasn't kicked on fully yet, but he's still very young. So I don't really have much to say there outside of the interesting situation that he finds himself in with the contaminated meat claim, which he did initially get off, which is now being which WADA is now taken to the court for arbitration for sport. So his future is interesting position there. Yeah, but I think everybody is gonna be scared when it comes to Let's See Tobago. I've said it. A lot of people have said it too, so it's nothing new. We knew he was super talented. We saw it. We saw him, we saw him at World Championships. We saw his performance at Cali, Colombia after that. And he made it on the podium last year. He's kick on. So I I don't expect him not to kick on. I think I seriously believe Let's See Tobago could give you the kind of Michael Johnson performances, the 2-4 performances. I just don't think he should stick in the 100 meters. But it's hard to tell a guy that can run 986 that the 100 meters isn't his thing, right? Especially when there's a lot of opportunity to develop given his age. He's very young, but I see much more upside in the 400. If he gets a better 400 meters, that potentially, which we saw him run 44.2, world best over 300 meters as well. I think he can get closer to those Johan Blake and time potentially if he can if he can do much better. I don't know if he can ever break the world record at both sets. I don't know if he's fast enough for that. He's definitely strong. He definitely has a speed endurance that is necessary. The speed not there, but you never know. So I don't think you should look at world records. I think you should look at what he can be dominant in, and I think he can do a 2-4. The 400 meters obviously is in a very tough space. If you think about Hudson Smith Hall, bunch of guys, Samuel Congo who ran well today, still interesting guys still around. Maybe get a Antonio Watson coming back if he's healthy, can probably dip on the 44 as well. So the space is interesting, but we'll see. I get back to some more comments here. Debbie saying, let's see a new challenger is Gout from Australia. Yeah, Gout is interesting. I don't know if he's ready to challenge though, Debbie. I think he's probably Gout is probably 4 years away from super elite running. Maybe he can break in. I would say if Gout could get a proper coach, right? Well, let me take that back. He has a coach. If he can get into a structure where no, I actually think I'm right on this. He's not ready yet. He is 16. He should be allowed to develop as a kid and understand what that means, and he should just learn how to sprint, which is not an indictment. It's just a thing that will happen, and he should enjoy himself as a youngster, do all the things that 16, 17-year-olds like to do, and then he will get to a point where serious decisions would have to be made, and I'm sure they'll make them. I like what I'm seeing. You look at him and you immediately start to draw comparisons. I don't want to do that, but I think when you look at the mechanics, there's a lot of things that can be fixed that would make him much faster right away. And just imagine if he grows into his body and gets stronger and all of that stuff, he's gonna be lethal. He's gonna be a lethal kind of guy. Yeah. How you doing, She's Caribbean? Good to see you here as well. Yeah, I know you mentioned the 200. Yeah, he's 16. Debbie says he runs like Bolt. I mean, there's some similarities there. The chain and the mouth is eerily similar. I like the Walaza kid too. We should not sleep on the Walaza kid from South Africa. He was at the Olympics, right? Didn't he run on the relay at the Olympics, if I'm mistaken? Did he? And he too has a lot of problems. One arm is going the other way, is not running. He has that leanness of a thing. So you can think, I don't know how big he can get, but I like him. He's also a personality. I think he can going to uh get to another level as well if things go well. South Africa has a bunch of kids athletes that are in and around there that could potentially do some big things if they transition the right way. It's not always guaranteed, but we'll see. Uh Chris is saying, are we all track and field junkies? Hey, you got it. At least it's good stuff you're taking in, right? Olympics, Diamond Leagues, under 20. Yeah, I've been watching everything. I just didn't get a chance to come on live. Yeah, he runs like a young bolt. He does. I think I see some of that, and you see the weaknesses, right? There's no the core strength isn't there yet. There is serious hip issues, just eyeballing, right? But I like the kid. I think he's talented. Uh, Not a comment here. I'm just hoping for a healthy Kishane for a full season. I was disappointed not to see him in the race. Yeah, this is the second meet in a row that Kishane Thompson hasn't showed up for. Must be a reason. Like you, I think the most important thing is he maintains good health, and if it means calling it a season, it calls it a season. The season's technically done. You have another Diamond League, then Diamond League final. There's a couple Continental Tour stuff. He doesn't necessarily need to run anymore. So I would think that for Kishane Thompson, it's just about health. It would be good to see him. I would love to. I would have loved to see him still. Maybe do something even much more faster than we saw early season there in Jamaica. But it's not to be. And given his record of not necessarily having a complete season, this is the first kind of time you see him going that long. Erring on the side of caution is probably better, right? The thing about sports in general is that you get all these different types of athletes, right? So sometimes you have your athletes who are, they never get injured, they can run all the time. Others, they're consistently injured. Sometimes it niggles and you have to manage them differently. And this varies across sport in general. So yeah, it's not nice. We haven't seen the two medalists there from the Olympic Games continue on. We haven't seen Noah and we haven't seen Kishane. But Kishane is young, can come back. I'm sure he should get some form of a financial reward for winning that silver medal from Nike and others, better contract, all of that kind of stuff. So it should be okay. And maybe next year, if we don't see him again for the rest of the season, then maybe next year Thompson might grace the track again. But if he's not up to it, if he's not well, in no sense getting something that will put you out of background training and set you back for what would be a big championship year again next year. The World Championships in Tokyo. And I'm hoping that the Tokyo World Championships goes off really well, smoothly, and in fantastic fashion, because the Japanese people in particular were robbed of not having an Olympic Games in the sense that nobody was there and spent a lot of money. They couldn't welcome the world to see a magnificent game. So this is their opportunity. So hopefully we'll see. All right. Chris is saying Gout is at a Brisbane private school, maybe with academic goals. His parents may not want him to be too distracted. Interesting. Thanks. If I'm not mistaken, and you can correct me, Chris, isn't he at Tiger Track Club? Is he? Yeah, I know that Tiger Track Club in Brisbane produces a bunch of interesting athletes there. So yeah, the Gout kid is very talented. I always advocate, maybe because I'm biased to this part of it, that the kids must grow up the right way and they should take seriously academic pursuits, especially if they have the aptitude for it. And even if they don't, they should really focus on that as well. Largely because the sport of track and field is an unforgiving sport. For one, even if you're really good and one of the all time greats, it doesn't guarantee the successes and the riches that other sports do, right? You could be a very average NFL player, practice squad player, and make a lot more money than some of the superstars in track and field. Ask Devin Allen. So you have to do the right things to get to places where you need to. So yeah. All right, Clip, what's up? Let me see what's going on there. So I'm not against that. This was an eventful year for track and field, boys and girls championships, carry for the Penn Relays, World Indoor Olympics, U20, and Diamond League. Can't complain at all. No, you can't. I think there's a showcase of tremendous talent. Uh, if we were to, yeah, this makes me think we should do a proper season wrap up at some point once the season's over. Thinking about the emergence of a Quincy Wilson again. As you mentioned, Penn Relays, saw him last year at Penn's too, and the kid is a different class, right? And you saw some interesting stuff in the field events. Yeah, I think we're living in a golden era. Women are doing some super stuff on in the field and on the track as well, especially distance running. Today we could have seen a world record in the 3,000 meter steeplechase, just off it a bit there from Yavi. So I'm happy. Faith Kipyegon again looking brilliant today. Maybe in years to come, the sport will transform. All these new leagues popping up, whatever Michael Johnson's doing, that women's league as well. The changes that World Athletics is pursuing in terms of ending non-championship years with an end of season thing. Will those things transform the sport? I hope. I'm not optimistic. I don't know if you can ever push the sport to a point where second tier athletes can eat really well. And that's what you need. You need that type of stuff. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, good. Clipper saying the last hurdle stop was from seeing 3,000 world. I agree with you. Uh, if we can put up the 3,000 meter race, steeplechase today from the Diamond League, let me see if I can get it up. If I'm by myself, they were at one point on world record course, right? And then then for some reason they fell off a little bit. And then they got back on it. I mean, it was really interesting there. Yave, we know, is a special talent. 8:44:39, second all time on the list, right? I don't know what to say. I mean, Chematai also running 8:48. Cheritage as well, 8:57. That was a remarkable piece of running there this evening, and we must not forget it. We must think about what that really means, and it may even mean things in more interesting ways, and I'll get to that in a second. But when you think about it, it's not a lot of. It's only these three women now: Yavi, the world record holder, obviously in Beatrice Chipkoech, and now Chemutai. Only those three women have gone sub 8 minutes 50 for women's 3,000 meters. Her steeplechase. That's different level of thinking about where the sport is. I don't know how many of you have seen this, and I raised this briefly because there is discussions now being had with World Athletics about introducing the 1,000-meter steeplechase. It's not clear whether or not they're going to get rid of the 3,000-meter steeplechase. It didn't say that in the thing that they were doing. There's a couple of things that I think all of you guys can get involved in as well, which is to give feedback on some changes that World Athletics are intending on making in the next few years. So we know they're trialing. I think the three main things that they probably want fan feedback on is one, the introduction of a 1,000-meter steeplechase. I'm not against that. Don't get rid of the 3,000 meters for me, but I'm not against the 1,000. But I wonder what that would do. There's also talks about measuring distance cleared and not the height of the bar in the pole vault. We have the camera technology that can measure how far above the bar an athlete goes. So there's a potential discussion about that. So maybe when Mondo clears at 6:26, it's actually 6:30, 6:35. That's the thing that they're looking forward to doing. And the other thing, obviously, most of you would know about is the trialing of the takeoff zone in the long jump. So yeah, be sure to give World Athletics your feedback on this. I think you can get in a panel on it. I got something about it recently, so I'm sure if many of you are have an account, you might have already gotten it too. I'm waiting to see the takeoff zone situation, but I'll talk about that in a second. The last thing I want to say about innovation in track and field before I get to your point on Akira is I needed some time, and now I think I'm very sure on this. Well, very sure. I'm more comfortable saying this. So the introduction of wave-like technology, which I like, but I like for different reasons too. I think it's a really great thing for training, especially those who can afford it. There's really good pacing going on. It helps out a lot there. The coaches that have access to that will talk about that. But I now fundamentally believe that the introduction of wave-like technology should never go into a major championship. So, I think when it came out, I was like, oh, interesting. Chepta guy immediately, Joshua Chepta guy there breaking the 10,000 meter world record on it. We saw back to back world records from Gidi and Sifan Hassan. And it was just like everybody now dropping records with the wave light stuff. And when you see it on the Diamond League or on a circuit, you're getting both paces and wave light. Now, while that is good, entertaining, get you to a point where athletes can approach world records and break world records because they can actually go with the pace and they'll know if they're behind or not. My guess is, and I'm coming to think about it this way, that if you were to ever introduce this into a major championships, you'll never get upsets. You'll never get what happened to Inga Britson happening at the Olympic Games again. Because you would, especially if you're an athlete that's much better than the rest, and all you did was a tactical mistake. And tactical mistakes are really an integral part of the sport, especially in the distances. When you miss the timing or you don't think you're going out hard enough or you went out too hard and all that training you did to learn how to pace yourself has just gone out of the window because of the pressure. I think when you have wave light, you don't have that because you can back off or you can build back up and you can see where the lights are going. So I think you won't get upsets anymore if that were ever to be introduced. There was talk about whether or not you should introduce that at a major championship. I don't know where that's on the list for World Athletics, but that's my take on it. So I now believe that it should stay in the circuit. Excuse me, on the circuit. But the thing is, you break a world record with assistance is always like, how do we think about it? The sport has fundamentally changed when it comes to distance running. It's two different sports than previously, to be honest with you. The technology, the shoe in the marathon, the gel stuff, the everything is different. Yeah. All right, let me get back to some of the comments here. She says, I'm proud of Akira. I was hoping that she would have done this during the Olympics, but I'll take what I can get. Yeah, unfortunate for her, but the thing about the hurdles is is the old cliche, right? It comes with barriers, and when you have those barriers, essentially stuff happens. You go too hard, you miss it, you hit a hurdle, you're out of it in a heartbeat. Unforgiven kind of sport. It's one of the worst things ever. You could be the best in the world, you could be the world record holder, you could be beat better than everybody by a country mile, and you do one small mistake and it could throw you off. It's tough. Were this to happen to Akira, were the world championship year, you could be like, okay, there's one coming back next year or in 2 years' time, depending on the year. When it happens to you at the Olympic Games, you sit and you wait for 4 years. Don't know what that might mean when we saw her in, was it Lausanne when she ran really well recently, or was it in Poland? My head is all over the place. You saw that she was happy again because she must have been disappointed. Today, you saw something super special from Akira Nugent, fourth all time on the list. We all knew it was coming at some point. The trajectory was there. It's the same way when Karika Hill becomes a senior athlete. You expect it. It's a tough place to be as a sprint hurdler if you run for the United States, and certainly if you run from Jamaica as well. Next year, if outside of Daniel Williams, who will be sitting pretty, there's a lot of competition again to make the championships. She's a cut above the rest in Nugent, you would think, but what will a full season with Brittany Anderson look like? Will Megan Tapper find a way again? What will Janique Brown look like, I guess, in terms of her evolution for rediscovering the sport? So I say all of that to say that you just never know, right? And others are coming through as well. So really, really interesting time there. But she looked really fabulous today. Efficient sprinting, dip really nicely. And it was good running from Masai Russell as well. We can't complain about that. Those two know each other really well. But I like it. Chris is saying I want to see a 50, maybe 60-meter super dash. Outdoors? I don't know about that. I don't know. Explain a little bit more. Okay. No, I'm seeing what you're saying. And mix it up, women's 100-meter goal versus men with appropriate handicap. Interesting. I don't know, Chris. I could see it. I could see stuff like that, some innovation. Maybe I'm being conservative here. I don't know. I don't like when they do the gimmick, Chris. It might come off as a gimmick. I don't know. It may not be. If it's done well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, interesting. Clip says, I agree it should stay in the Diamond League. And I think you're referencing my point on the wave. Like, yeah, I'm fundamentally don't think it should get out of that. So yeah, so good stuff again. Yavi looking good. Chamatai, obviously. Akira Nugent, we touched on her. Some good stuff there happening at the Diamond League today. Let's talk about 400 meters a little bit. We can talk about other things as well, but the men's 400 meters, really good running there from the Zambian athlete there, Samuel Conga, obviously winning Olympic medal there, beating out Jereme Richards there from Trinidad and Tobago in a cruel fashion for if you're a supporter of Trinidad and Tobago. Karani James there at 44:30, just couldn't get that extra step. Looked like he was going to get back at Samuel Congo as at the end there in the closing stages, but didn't have enough in his leg. And I like what I'm seeing from Muzala because he's delivered and the future is bright for him. Endor is still around there, looking there at a 44:56. Richards probably late season for him. Fabulous running, obviously, at the Olympic Games. National record at 43:78 for Trinidad and Tobago. No Quincy Hall. He's probably done for the season. I don't know if we'll see him again. He had a couple niggles there. Hudson Smith not there as well. But good running over the 400 meters, I thought. Good running over the 400 meters. Let's see. Any thoughts on West Indies cricket? I mean, I've been all my cricket fans have been like I've neglected them. I don't know what to say. The South Africa series looked decent. In the T20, in the Test match cricket, I was really upset with some of the things that I saw, but I may have to do something on that separately. I like what I'm seeing in a little bit of what Darren Sammy's trying to do. I think he's still short another attacking bowler. Probably could get a leg spinner would be nice, or Yeah, but interesting stuff opening with Alec Athenes and Shea Hope. I like a lot. There's some interesting places there. Maybe I don't know. We'll talk about it another time. All right. Yeah. So that was good there. I like what I saw. Maybe let's briefly talk. I want to talk briefly about men's 100-meter hurdles if we can get a chance and talk about that. Only for one reason, maybe not one reason. I want to address Omar McLeod in a sense as well. So yeah, Sasha Joya, former world junior champion there, a kid with immense talent, running a 13:18 there to win the let me see if I can get it up. Yeah, Zoya there, 13:18 to win today in Rome. And shout out to Rome, always putting on a great Diamond League. I didn't get a chance to say that. It looked like a decent amount of people there. They didn't look full, but the Olympic Stadium is huge, so it takes a lot to fill that. But Zoya there really looking good. Ran cleanly at the end to win 13:18. Maybe not the best of starts for him, but immense promise there. I think he can kick on. We should always remember him. I think if he continues to get stronger and faster and attack those hurdles, he has to attack the hurdles earlier. We may see him getting those times down. His prospects for going low 13s is certainly there for me. It's trying to get as close to that quickly and potentially going below 13. Don't know if he'll do it, but that's where he has to look at. Martinez also decent in a season best of 13:27. And McLeod 13:28 ahead of Edwards. Now McLeod hit a lot of hurdles there early he hit a few early. I think that threw him off, but he did really well to finish at the end. And I was suspecting that maybe if Omar didn't hit those hurdles, he may have been able to win this race. He probably would have definitely run in the teens for sure. The thing I don't know is he going to kick on with this hurdling thing? Because there's a lot of talks about whether or not he's going to transition to the flat 100 meters. I think even the commentators may have said that today. And that's the thing I want to address. I believe that the 100-meter hurdles, 110-meter hurdle space for Omar McLeod in Jamaica is still a viable path to going to a world championships and potentially doing something good. This is a man in his prime that's done 1290. We haven't seen that in a long time. He's lost his way for different reasons, tons of coaching changes, different situations with his however he felt. It's good to see him back on the track. Good to see that he seems happy. You would want to take that and build on it because this is an Olympic and a world champion and a sub 13 guy that still has it. He's not that, he's what, 30 now or something like that. Still a few good years if he can manage himself well. And the place to be is in the 110-meter hurdles. There are elder statesmen in parchment in Jamaican context. How much longer he stays, I don't know. Obviously, some kids coming around. There's also Levy that's out for the sport for a long time with his drug ban. He will probably never come back after 4 years. So I think there's an opportunity for him to run well and potentially still make a Jamaica team. If they're actually serious about transitioning away from the 110-meter hurdles and run the 100-meter, the flat 100 meters, I find that as a mistake. Not even a mistake, a very big one at that. Yes, he's sub 10. He's the only guy I believe that's gone sub 10 and sub 13. I'd have to check again, but I believe that's the case. But at this age, to transition to the flat would effectively end any opportunity for him to even grace a world championship or an Olympic team individually, and certainly no medals at all. I just don't see how he makes that transition. With all due respect to him and his coach, who's a very good one there in Italy, in Padova. Very nice place too. If you've ever been to Padova, it's very nice. Some of the best spritz you'll get. But I digress on that. And I don't see it. I cannot see it. If someone can convince me why he should just transition to that, this is akin, and I shouldn't say this, but I'll say it. This is akin to Melanie Walker walking away from 400-meter hurdles and going to run what she likes in the 100-meter hurdles. Your mind might say you love something or you want to give it a shot, but do you have time to actually do that stuff? And I don't think he has time, and he probably should stay in the 100-meter hurdles, 110-meter hurdles, and not think about playing around running the flat 100 meters at this stage in his career. So that's my take on it. Let me know your thoughts on whether that's a serious thing and if you think it would make sense. And I'm not doing it to be critical or anything. I mean, I'm critiquing the potential decision, but not in a malicious way. I think it's one in which what can you do to save the career in terms of can you eke out anything else left out of what is a very talented guy, right? Olympic Games, world title. He certainly should be back at something. Eric, what's up? I think he's 80. He's 30, right? Isn't he 30? Omar McCloud. Let me check that. Omar. I think he's 30, if I'm not mistaken. If he's younger, then I'll change my mind. He's 30. So he turned 30 this year. So he'll be 31 by the time the World Championships would have come around next year. It's not happening. It can't happen. Not in the landscape of making a flat team, right? Maybe if he's running for Bahrain or someplace like that, but he's not making a team. He cannot make that team. I just don't know what you would do to finish the end of a flat season in 110-meter hurdles and then come back next year and expect to have this fluid sprinting thing going on. And I know he's fast. Obviously, he's fast. I suspect he probably can give you a 10, 20 if you were to go out and run 100 meters right now. Yeah, probably a 10, 18, probably 10, 15, depending. But he would need to start running 9/8 if he's going to be competitive for a Jamaica team. If you think the likes of the guys that are there will continue to run well. So is he going to make a team over Thompson? Not anytime soon. Is he going to make it over a fit oblique? No. It's not going to make it over Akeem Blake either. And there's other guys in the mix that will come. So unless he can seriously get into a 9/8 right away, which I just cannot see, like he's just shifting a 1 year period, then at 31 to 32, that's not gonna happen. Yeah, it might be too late. He had to have done this back in like 2018. So right after that London gold medal title, probably transitioned then you would be like, okay, there's some time, some growing pains there. Can you do it? Didn't do it then. So I'm not optimistic that's the right move. And sometimes athletes tell you in their heart, this is what I want to do, which I guess is fine if it's just doing it for, I want to feel it. I want to know what it means to do something that I love. But if you're doing it with a goal in mind that I'm going to make a team and potentially do well at the international stage, that's a different calculation that you have to make. I wish him well. I don't know for sure if this will happen, but this is the rumblings that's happening there. Cool. All right. Couple other things. For other interesting stuff happening there. Let me know What else you like? 200 meters, not bad at all. Brittany Brown there running decent. Could have just there 22 flat. Battle, I like Battle. She ran 22:27, season best for her. What I liked about Battle, even though she came a distant second to Brown, was her she looked really comfortable in the home stretch there. There's a sense of relaxation there, something that Brittany probably needs to work on a bit more, and that would get her to continue running these sub 22s. Brown having a great season, obviously. Daryl Nita up in the mix as well. Yeah, but we're getting to that stage where you don't really have the Olympic champion in Gabby Thomas there, so it's tough. Sharika Jackson, obviously. So we see these 22 flat times and people are looking at it side-eyed, but it is what it is. It's one of those late season things. Not terrible, to be honest with you, but also nothing to write home about. uh let's see. Eric is saying a sub 10 PB is not enough 8 years later. No, I mean, I agree with you. It's too far. It's too far. Cliff says, I love how good Australia perform in the juniors. They seem to be well taken care of by their country. I believe that's the case. If Chris is still around, he can speak to it. Chris is a former track and field athlete from back in the 70s. I don't think he'll mind us saying that. Australia has good sports structure, good sports science in Australia. One of the best sports science institutes are are in South Africa. I think in Canberra too, or is it in Perth? I can't remember. I had a student who was there last year or so for a semester. But they spend money. They have resources to support stuff. I also It's interesting. You always think about Australia. They're obviously they're in the southern hemisphere, so when they're ready versus if there's always a disadvantage sometimes for them at these championships and how they have to prepare differently. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff, and the women are doing fantastic. We've seen them in the pole vault and high jump and a lot of other interesting things there. Taking care of athletes are really important, especially when you think about track and field, to do the things that you need to do, especially in some events in particular. You need good support, and I think they do. I believe they do a good job at that. As far as I know, others probably could talk more about that, but I think they spend some money there. They have a good couple of junior athletes coming through as well, and it's just a matter about whether they'll kick on. We'll see. But they're doing well at the World Junior Championships for sure. Yeah, yeah, cool. What else? Yeah, there was some other interesting stuff. The shot put was decent. Ryan Krauser there winning the men's shot put. I, 22-49 meeting record for him. That's like an everyday throw for him. He lost. When was it? He lost in Poland last week, which came as a shocker. Fabry doing well, getting into second ahead of Otherdal and Joe Kovacs and Regindra Campbell, the other two medalists there from the Olympic Games, finishing in fourth and fifth. Men's shot put is interesting space, a lot of great guys, but it's end of season, so you don't anticipate a lot of big throws. Bunch of 21s there, but Krau's a separate, he's a special talent, even with all the injuries he had. Fabry was probably the biggest disappointment of the season. I thought going into the Olympic Games, and Krause are not in the best of health, that Leonardo Fabry probably could have won the gold medal. Didn't even find his way on the podium. Hugely disappointing Olympics for him. We'll see what we get out of it. Yeah. Hopefully Rajendra Campbell, speaking of support for athletes there, hopefully Campbell can kick on, medalist at the Olympic Games, same distance as Joe Kovacs, as we may remember, but Kovacs winning on superior series. Campbell himself, I believe, works a job and also throws, so that's never ideal. maybe a sponsorship here and there, and some other support may get him to even move up the medal podium or be much more consistent. But he's been a good season for him. It's what, 22-16 this season, 22 last year for the 22 last year for the world record, the national record there. Yeah, guy, he has a lot of talent and should be supported to continue to do that stuff. It's not easy. There uh, world class athletes in shot put and discus for years sometimes don't get any sponsorship. Remember Tommy Walsh, all these other people used to walk around without any shirt sponsors, and that is a hard thing to do when you have to take care of yourself and sometimes other people, and it's not easy when you're at the world stage and can't get the kind of resources that you'd want. So yeah. Uh let's see what's going on. Okay, Giovanni, you're here, the best sports journalist and analyst ever. Well, hopefully that's in your LinkedIn page. But yeah, yeah. Uh yeah. Is that Are you saying that you're the best person? Which would be cool. Yeah. Yeah. How you doing? Chris, thank you for your respect. Oh yeah, for sure. Anytime. Yeah. Yeah. Uh uh Clip saying we really have to appreciate our athletes that chose to represent Jamaica because they can easily switch allegiance and reap way more benefits if we're being honest. No, it's true. I mean, not only Jamaica too, but you're right. A lot of other countries, we've seen a lot of things in the past. People going to Qatar, to Bahrain, to different places, Turkey. I actually know of some athletes who made those decisions back in the day. Can't talk about the details here, but the yeah, when you see different types of support, it's easy to understand why, right? And especially when if you don't do well, it's a pressure environment, right? Especially if a track and field athlete doesn't do well in the United States, 99.99% of people who watch the Olympic Games will never even know about these people. It won't even get anywhere close to the kind of media attention. It just doesn't consume the cycle like that, right? So I feel like the pressure that a Jamaican athlete gets is far intense than athletes in the United States, right? When it comes to track and field, right? It's different for other sports, obviously, right? It's it's just there, right? Like it consumes the space. The country on a whole thinks about it differently. Think about it's like almost like a birthright. They think about as if they you own the sprints or something like that, which is that's good, right? But there's immense pressure, and when people don't do well, it's easy to criticize. But you don't to be an elite athlete requires a lot of stuff that is expensive. It's expensive to pay coaches, nutrition, this, that, health, and resources and facilities and all that stuff. So you're absolutely right. People can move. Yeah, people can move, right? Yeah. Shout out to what I was gonna say. I think recently we were talking about like some history of Helsinki and London and so on, and I saw uh in the in the news a couple of days ago that George Roden, the last of the great Jamaican 400-meter runners from the 1940s, 50s, there passed away in his 90s. So that was really uh, it's a sad moment, obviously, but obviously live a very long life. So you should, it's more like celebratory. And condolences to his family, and part of those great 4x4, well, 4 by 4, what's it, 440 yards rather, teams of yesteryear, and putting Jamaica on the map in some interesting ways. Herb McKinley, Arthur Wint, Les Lang would be the other guys as well. Yeah. Chris says, speaking of gimmickry, I just saw a bit between Varham and Duplantis will race over 100 in the Diamond League final. Yeah, I saw that. This was been they're talking about this for last few weeks. It's almost like when they were gonna set up a Shelley and Fraser Price Duplantis thing. I think I'd even done a little video on it last year or 2 years ago when I talked about it. I don't know. I mean, like, I don't really know what's the point of Carson Varham running Mondo over 100 meters. Like, what is it going to do, right? If they're doing it for charity, I could understand it. Something interesting, but why? I just don't know. I mean, Mondo is a very fast guy. You have to be super fast to do the pole vault, but he's not trying to run 100 meters. He does over distance stuff, obviously, but he's going to get Varm is gonna outsprint him. It's just I don't think he'll win. Mondo, that is. Also, are you gonna risk injury to do this if you are even Mondo, right? I don't know. But these are the things we have set up in the sport, so we'll see. All right, let me get back to a few more things and before we get out of here, and hopefully you guys will have a better Friday night as well. And thank you for coming on as usual. Fate Kipiegan looked good. I think I touched on her earlier. 352.89. Hailu 354.16 in second place. And Halem as well, 354.79. And Jessica Hall 354.98. Very good running there. At one point in the end, there's a bunch of them. There was talk that the world record was going to be under threat, but when you looked at the wave light, you realized that was never going to happen. And there's a moment where Fate had them on the back of her. They were right behind her, including Jessica, who ran her really well a few weeks ago. And then Kipiegan just found a second gear and ultimately destroy all of them. And so she's the greatest 1500-meter runner we've ever seen. And, it was really easy pickings for her in the end. But good race, really good race. 352 is nothing to it's really super fast time. I mean, we're just used to seeing Fate do better sometimes, but that is up there, so we shouldn't even be complaining about that. Yeah, so that was some good stuff there. Men's 5,000 meters. I think they wanted to get on slot. They wanted to get on to the world record as well. That was the talk. That was never going to happen, if I'm being honest with you. But Geberit there, 12:51 ahead of Kejekla and Solomon Barega. Karapa. It was really good hiked up class athletes there as well. Beckley as well. And Aragawi. Yeah, so some good running from those guys, but that's far off from where the capability of most of those guys. They could run a good 20 seconds or better than that. But it's late in the season, so it was nothing to complain about, to be honest with you. But just thinking about it from that perspective. Clip says it was supposed to be Shelley versus Mondo. Yeah, it was supposed to be that back in what? Not like it was 22, right? I think it was 22. The race was supposed to happen. It never really happened. It never materialized. I still think that if that race between that Shelley and Fraser Price, who was just consistently running 10-6, I think she would have gotten out on Mondo. She probably would have led. I think Shelley could have led Mondo to about 45, 50 meters. After that, he probably get her in the end, but I think the optics of it would have been interesting because of how well she starts and gets out of the blocks. And Mondo isn't doing any block work, so he would basically get left behind, and then he would probably run her down. It would have been a good race to see just for the sideshow of it, but it never happened. It never will, probably. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I probably missed a few events. I don't know if I've missed anything else to talk much about. We can obviously bring them up if you want. But I thought it was really a good Diamond League. Oh yeah, long jump was decent as well. Uh, Woodall Davis there going over 7 meters. There's America 1, 2, 3, 4 there. Jasmine Moore also on that podium twice at the Olympic Games at a 662. Burke 666 and Nichols there at 682. Not bad. Uh, Jumping there, good jumping from Woodall Davis as well. She probably has one eye on the Paralympics as her partner there is at the Paralympics as we speak. Are you guys watching the Paralympics? I got a clip of saw a clip of a few things, but I haven't been focusing on it the way I should. I just don't have as much time as I normally do in the summer, so it's it's one of those things. Yeah. So yeah, that's my take on what happened today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Some good stuff. Tomorrow, we we get the final day of the World Under 20 Championships. There should be some good stuff happening tomorrow as well. Day 5 should be decent. I think it's only an evening session. It's 4x4 relays. Uh, I think Jamaica women should win the women's race. If I think they have enough talent there. Not sure. I didn't. Terry Long didn't run in the heats today, but maybe she's not at her best because she's much faster than what we saw. She should have been in the final of the 100 meters for women if she was healthy. Something must be off. I don't really know if it was the weather there in Peru. It gets really chilly there as well. Also, I don't really like the format of those first rounds and semifinals on the same day, but I don't get to make the schedule up. The 4x4 should be interesting as well. Jamaica has people there and the women. The men didn't make it. I think I saw that today. They were just outside of that. And yeah, would you believe it? In the 4x1 for men, the US guys didn't even get the baton around. So it's just like a continuation of all sort of interesting stuff. But that should be some interesting things tomorrow to cap off the World Under 20 Championships. Yeah, some good stuff there. I think that South Africans looking good. Oz is looking good as usual. So we'll see. Chris is saying, let's cut the politics and just get a race between Trump and. Yeah, you got to get heart monitors everywhere for that, there, Chris. You know, you need life support, if any kind of running was going to happen there. Aussies for 4x1 girls and boys. You think the Aussies can? I don't know. I think the women will. I think the Jamaican women will win the 4x1. I think if it's in anywhere close to, I think even with a 1 meter lead or a 2 meter lead, Alana Reid has enough in the legs to win that. The men, yeah, you know what was surprising was the South African guys in the 4x1 heats today. I was really not sure what was going on there, to be honest with you. I thought they would be like just all over. They would have run much better than their semifinal performance today. So yeah, I don't know. The Australia team, I think they are on course. They could do something special. I don't know. Jamaica team too, I believe, is competent. The Gary Card kid he didn't perform as well as we anticipated, but I think it's a late season. DeAndre Daly. I think Jamaica has enough in the tank too to find their way on the medal podium for the 4x1 for men. They could win it too. But Australia is a really good shot as well. Uh, Hong Kong, I thought, really ran well this morning in terms of their baton exchanges as well. So I don't know. You never can count out the Brits, Great Britain and Northern Ireland. So we shall see. Should be an entertaining 4x1 tomorrow, though. Yeah, should be entertaining. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So, guys, it's been a pleasure. Unless we want to talk about other stuff, I'm probably gonna call it for tonight. But as usual, thank you for supporting the channel. Thank you for being around. Thank you for listening and for subscribing. I know some of you have already subscribed and for participating. It's not it won't be good without you guys. And yeah, think about a few things. I know if you guys are involved, make sure you try to tell World Athletics your thoughts on the takeoff zone, the clearance in the trippage in the height in the not in the high jump, in the pole vault. Yeah, they're really looking for feedback on that as well, and also the shift to a 1,000-meter steeplechase. That would be interesting. They want some fan engagement. Yeah, lots of track left for the season. Well, in terms of good stuff, we'll get on our Diamond League coming up again next weekend, and then leads us into the Brussels Diamond League final. And I think maybe one or two continental tours. I haven't been checking on those two. So yeah, I'll be back, and we'll be trying to do some more lives, and probably a couple of other videos should come out in the next few weeks. So thanks again. I'll see you guys soon. Bye bye.